Hey there, Recon fans. It's your host, Andi Gutierrez, here to take you behind the scenes of 2 action-packed episodes of Star Wars Rebels. Are you ready to learn? I'm going to assume that you just screamed yes at your screen and move on. This is Rebels Recon. Growing impatient with the efforts to stop the rebels, Thrawn dispatches his personal assassin to aid the Empire.
I smell the sap.
Under enemy fire, Ezra spots a Loth wolf that transports the rebels to safety, revealing a mysterious connection with the wolves and the Force.
It has a deep connection to the Force, to the energy of this planet.
After successfully stopping the Mining Guild from destroying the surface of Lothal, the rebels receive news that will help free the planet from the clutches of the Empire.
The attack? It's happening?
We're launching our assault on the next rotation. I told Mon Mothma you'll coordinate the ground assault.
You can count on us.
This week, an iconic character made his triumphant debut on Rebels. I talked with the cast and crew about what it was like bringing Rook to life, working with Warwick Davis, how the Mining Guild works with the Empire, and the kiss. You know the one. Check it out. Old school fans would likely recognize Thrawn's assassin Rook from the classic Thrawn trilogy books.
Maybe.
How was it decided to bring another Legends character into the series?
I mean, once you start with Thrawn, it kind of sets off some dominoes, and we needed another character that wasn't a force-wielding character, so we decided on Rook. It wasn't an easy choice, because it's not really a good idea of what he looks like. There have been a lot of interpretations.
We actually did a complete pass that was green. He looked a lot more like a T-Rex, but Filoni had this idea. He was thinking more creepy and skeletal, and he wanted Rook to be sort of wiry and menacing in a way that was different to an Inquisitor or a Vader. So we actually went back and went more in this sort of gray, alien, spooky, pale-eyed sort of direction.
I remember talking to Kilian about him when we first started designing him. We were figuring, does he more do a four-legged thing? Does he actually run like a gorilla? We kind of went with that as his sort of basic idea for his locomotion, that he's much more animal-like. So you'll see a lot of times that he'll be going from 4 legs to 2 legs. He'll be grappling onto things like a monkey to kind of give him a little bit more of a creature kind of feel and less of a normal biped human assassin.
We were finessing the fine points of Rook all the way deep into lighting. Even though the design was great, the asset's great, as soon as we get him into lighting, that's where things pop up. One of them is his button nose. Before, the button nose used to be a little bright, and it made him look a little too cute. And Dave had the immediate reaction of, let's just darken the nose. So we had to go and in the color grade just darken his nose there, but just by doing that just added so much more menacing fear to his face with his expressions.
What else can you tell us about Rook and his species? What kind of culture do they have?
The Nogri are very honor-based. They're the size of Jawas, but they're deadly, so they're really more like ninjas than they are brutes. The key thing that they had in the books is this incredible sense of smell. They could actually tell your lineage by sniffing you. They could figure out what your bloodline is if you were related to someone. In this case, we really just tried to project that as Rook being a tracker.
We finally got Warwick Davis into Rebels. What's it like working with Warwick as a voice actor?
He is incredible. It was such a pleasure to record him. He was great because he gave a very nuanced performance with his voice, but he's also incredibly physical. So we recorded his physical performance as well, and we gave that to the animators. So a lot of the subtle nuances he made with his face and his body, you'll actually see reflected in Rook.
He is supremely knowledgeable as an actor as you could want. He has such a breadth of experience behind him to draw from. It's when your days are easy as a director, because anything you give an actor like him, he will just take and make pretty incredible. There is a legacy in Star Wars that goes beyond just the stories and the characters to the people behind the scenes that have been a part of this, and he's definitely been a gigantic part of Star Wars and why I think people love it. So it's just always fun when they can continue to be included in the magic here.
We get to see Zeb finally meet his match in a fight in this episode. What's your process for recording all these grunts and groans needed for this sort of performance?
The grunting and groaning is something I started out with. My very first gig was as a creature going, you gotta be willing to look ugly. Yeah. That is the secret to all efforts and reactions. You gotta be willing to go as ugly and drippy and gross as you possibly can.
How exactly does the Mining Guild work with the Empire?
The Mining Guild has all the equipment and gear required to exploit planets. They're kind of this independent agency that the Empire hasn't completely taken over.
Well, they're brought in to strip the place, all the resources, and they're just there making money. They don't see it as villainous. They're just doing their job.
Captain C4 is kind of an interesting character. Can you tell me a little bit more about his origins?
He was voiced by the fantastic Seth Green.
He's so good.
He was phenomenal. He came in and we didn't really know what the voice was going to be like. And Seth gave us a couple of options, and the minute we heard that voice, it was like, perfect, that is Captain Seevor.
Trandoshans in general are fun to design because once you get past the idea that they all have to look just like Bosk, it's wide open. They can be anything as long as they're lizards. There's actually a massive amount of just visual diversity that you can try within any one given species in Star Wars and come up with really fun, different characters that don't break any rules and are just as believable and interesting as anything that you've seen in the movies.
This episode made a lot of online fans very happy.
Including me.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were waiting for Kanan and Hera to finally kiss. What took them so long to finally get to this point in their relationship?
They've had a history together, but Hera was very focused on the rebellion.
I think in a different time, in a different world, maybe they really would have explored more of that. But I think as the circumstances grow even more dire and it becomes even more dangerous, I think the attraction increases as well. I think they've had other priorities and have not been able to be romantic with one another, but I do think that that feeling is there.
They really help each other, and I think that for a long time, we just didn't want this relationship to get in the way of how they were developing as characters. It's evolved the way that it should, and we were just very careful about it. It's suggested every now and then that they have more of a history in the past, but we'll have to wait and see what it means in their future.
Oh, R3, you're so much funnier than Chopper.
You know what I love doing almost as much as this show? Stalking the Lucasfilm Story Group's Pablo Hidalgo to ask him your thoughtful and well-worded questions week after week. Let's go do that now, shall we?
Hey, Pablo, glad I found you. You got a minute?
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Okay, cool. So I've got some questions for you. First off, Vitus Varnus asks, if Yavin 4 is an ancient Sith world, wouldn't Palpatine or Vader watch it closely?
You know, the idea that Yavin 4 was a Sith world is something that came out of the expanded universe, particularly in the 1990s, but it was never really reflected in George Lucas's version of Yavin and its Masasi Temple. If you look back at his development of the planet, that was never part of its history, so we don't know if that's really canon or not.
Okay, cool. Moving on. Tim Langell asks, what happened to the 2 giant crystals that the rebels destabilized after they destroyed their transports?
Oh, they did blown up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that was a waste of time for the Imperials.
Blown up big time.
All right, then. Good luck with that.
Thanks.
Have questions about Kindred or Crawler Commanders? Tweet them to @StarWars using the hashtag Rebels Recon, and we'll answer what we can online. And now, here's your first peek at next week's episode, Rebel Assault. Enjoy.
Sir, we're detecting several craft coming out of hyperspace.
All right, let's make this count. Lothal's depending on us.
Thanks for watching Rebels Recon. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, but if you can't get enough Rebels information, check out the episode guides for Kindred and Crawler Commanders on StarWars.com right now. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.